Empires, inventions, corporations, all fell the same way. Not by accident, by design. On March 28, 2003, Circuit City terminated approximately 3,900 of its highest-paid, most experienced sales associates in a single coordinated action. The termination criterion was not documented performance. It was wage level. A payroll-optimization formula, internally named Retail Advantage, had flagged these employees as inefficient. Not because they sold less, but because they earned more for tenure, the formula did not count as value. This was not a layoff in response to a bad quarter. This was a designed mechanism, built years earlier, executing exactly as it was engineered to execute. Every person fired that day had a manager who had watched them work. Every manager had a file showing sales numbers, customer return rates, commission totals. None of that mattered. The formula did not read those files. It read a single column: base wage relative to a ceiling. Anyone above the ceiling was flagged, regardless of what stood beside their name in every other column. To understand why this decision was even possible, you have to go back to what Circuit City built decades before anyone typed the words Retail Advantage into a spreadsheet. Through the 1980s and into the 1990s, Circuit City's leadership constructed a compensation architecture that tied pay directly to tenure and commission. A salesperson who stayed 5 years, learned the technical specifications of every product on the floor, and built repeat customers earned meaningfully more than a new hire. This was not generosity. It was a retention engine. The company was paying for something specific: product fluency, relationship memory, the ability to close a sale because a customer trusted the person standing in front of them, not just the brand on the sign. For over a decade, this system outperformed its closest competitor. Best Buy did not have the same depth of tenured floor expertise during this period, and the sales numbers showed it. Circuit City's model looked financially sound because it was financially sound. Commission and tenure pay correlated directly with customer retention and average transaction value. Executives at the time could point to real numbers proving that paying for experience produced revenue. The architecture was not a cost center. It was the engine, which is exactly why what happened next has to be examined as a choice, not a drift. At some point inside Circuit City's corporate finance division, the metric used to evaluate that workforce changed. Compensation was no longer read as an investment correlated with sales performance. It was recoded as a payroll liability measured against a market rate ceiling. The Retail Advantage formula did not ask whether an employee's sales numbers justified their wage. It asked only whether their wage exceeded what a replacement would cost. Anyone above that line was terminated. Then, in many documented cases, invited to reapply for the same job at a lower rate. This is the structural flaw, isolated precisely. The company decoupled compensation from individual output and recoupled it to aggregate payroll cost. That single recoding meant experienced employees were not fired for underperforming. They were fired for the exact thing the original system had been built to reward: staying long enough to become expert. The loss of institutional sales knowledge was not a side effect of this decision. It was a mathematical certainty embedded inside the formula from the moment it was written. Nobody who approved Retail Advantage needed to intend damage. The formula did that work on its own. What happened in the immediate aftermath looked, on paper, like success. Quarterly labor costs dropped, margins improved. Analysts covering the stock read the reduced payroll figures as evidence of operational discipline. A company tightening its cost structure, trimming inefficiency, doing exactly what a well-run retailer should do, heading into a competitive decade. This is not a story about one bad decision. It is a pattern this channel exists to trace. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing how collapse gets built into the architecture years before anyone notices. For 5 years, the gap between the decision and its consequence stayed hidden inside exactly that kind of reading. Circuit City's balance sheet from 2003 through 2007 did not show a company hemorrhaging institutional knowledge. It showed a company with improving short-term efficiency. The floor staff replacing the terminated veterans were paid less, and initially, in raw accounting terms, that looked like a win. What the balance sheet could not show was the customer who left without buying because the person helping them did not know the answer the previous employee would have known instantly. That erosion does not appear as a line item. It appears as a slow decline in conversion rate, in average ticket size, in repeat visits, numbers that move gradually enough to be explained away by seasonality, by competition, by anything except the specific decision made on March 28th. Wall Street was reading cost. Nobody with authority to intervene was reading competence. Then came the exposure event, and it did not arrive gradually. The 2008 holiday retail season hit a consumer base suddenly constrained by credit. Shoppers who might once have made an impulsive high-margin purchase were now deliberate, comparison-driven, asking detailed questions before committing limited money to a purchase. This was precisely the environment where sales floor expertise mattered most, and precisely the environment where Circuit City's 5-year-old decision came due. Best Buy, which had not run an equivalent purge of its experienced staff, met that same credit-constrained customer with veteran employees who could answer the harder questions, close the more hesitant sale, justify the purchase in real time. Circuit City could not. The floor retail advantage had rebuilt out of lower cost, lower tenure staff was not equipped for a customer who needed convincing. 5 years of quiet erosion, masked by favorable short-term accounting, became visible in a single quarter, and the company that had once outperformed Best Buy on the strength of its sales floor could not compete against it. Circuit City filed for bankruptcy protection in November of 2008. Liquidation followed by the following spring. The mechanism does not end with Circuit City. It recurs, structurally identical, in industries that look nothing alike on the surface. Airline furlough systems built on seniority formulas make an almost identical trade. The calculation optimizes for cost and contractual order, not for which pilots or crew members hold irreplaceable operational knowledge. Technology companies running stack ranking systems and tenure cost attrition programs make the same substitution, treating years of accumulated system knowledge as a wage expense to be trimmed rather than an asset to be protected. In each case, the formula is different. The underlying architecture is the same. Institutional knowledge is classified on a spreadsheet as a liability. Nobody building these formulas sets out to destroy competence. They simply never build a column to measure it. That is the file, closed exactly where it began. The retail advantage formula performed precisely as it was engineered to perform. It identified wage cost above a threshold and eliminated it on schedule without deviation. Nobody who designed it lied about what it would do. They simply never asked what it would cost to stop measuring the one variable that determined whether the company survived contact with a harder customer 5 years later, in a season nobody had modeled for,